protein is not protein. For example, did you know that 30 grams of protein from one food could build less muscle than 30 grams of protein from another food? Or in a person who requires a minimum of 50 grams of protein a day for healthy body function, 50 grams of protein from this would not actually meet their protein needs. This is important because the body requires protein for all kinds of things to stay healthy, anything from building bones to making hormones. And data from NHANES suggests that 40% of Americans aren't even hitting their minimum protein requirements. Okay, so how can 30 grams of protein not be 30 grams of protein? Well, we absorb and utilize certain proteins better than others. There's a scoring system called DIAS, recognized by the FAO, that tells you the quality of a protein. Animal proteins like cow's milk, boiled eggs, beef, and chicken breast are all considered high-quality proteins because they are very digestible and have high amounts of all the essential amino acids. Plant protein powders like soy or pea are of a lower rank but are still good quality proteins. Another good rank protein is baked chickpeas. However, many plant proteins, for example rice, lentils, peanuts, almonds, and wheat, are all considered poor quality proteins. People often just assume 18 grams of protein from chicken is the same as 18 grams of protein from lentils or a peanut butter sandwich or some eggs. But here's something you might find surprising. 50 grams of protein per day is the minimum protein requirement for adults. And if you look here, most of these 103 countries get most of their protein from plants, and they're hitting their 50 grams a day just fine. But plant proteins aren't digested as well. So if you incorporate the digestibility of the proteins, far more countries are just under the 50 gram requirement. Now, if you account for the fact that many plant proteins don't provide enough of one or more of the essential amino acids, and therefore that protein can't be fully utilized, then it turns out that none of these 103 countries are hitting the 50 gram protein requirement. Now, these countries could certainly hit 50 grams of utilizable protein by simply eating a lot more plant protein. In developed countries, we simply eat a bunch of protein in total, so this is less of an issue. But research suggests that protein quality may still matter. In a study looking at height of men in 105 countries, they found that in developing countries, the height of men correlated with protein quantity. Unsurprisingly, the challenge in developing countries is having access to enough protein. However, in developed countries where people eat plenty of protein, the quality of the protein they were eating is what mattered for height.
In 15 public schools in Brooklyn, we will be instituting Meatless Mondays.
Let's hope Mayor de Blasio at least adds an extra soy protein shake to lunches on Monday, especially considering another March 2021 study looking at 187 Polish children found that children not eating meat, a high-quality protein, were 3 centimeters shorter and had weaker bones. Protein quality comes down to amino acids. We don't just need protein, we need all the 9 essential amino acids that protein source provides, and they each have important functions. Just to name 2, leucine is a very important amino acid for muscle growth, and tryptophan is a precursor for making the hormones melatonin and serotonin. So DIAS scores are considering how much and how absorbable the essential amino acids in a food are. Here's an easy example. Say you're trying to gain muscle in the gym. Both leucine and essential amino acid content are important for that. Soy and pea protein powders do have a decent amount of well-digested amino acids, but still, to match the leucine content and essential amino acid content of 25 grams of whey protein, you need 40 grams of soy protein or 38 grams of pea protein. This protein quality issue may be why this study found that women not eating meat have less muscle mass than women who do eat meat, even though they ate the same total grams of protein.
I ate my 10-15 eggs a day. I had my 250 grams of protein a day. But as I got older, I recognized the fact that you really don't have to get your protein from meat. So we start going more in a direction of a vegetarian kind of a diet.
Of course, plant foods have various benefits other than just protein, but the recent very popular film The Game Changers, backed by big names like Arnold Schwarzenegger and James Cameron, makes it sound like you can get all the protein and the essential amino acids you need from only plant-based foods without much effort at all.
For example, 1 cup of cooked lentils or a peanut butter sandwich has about as much protein as 3 ounces of beef or 3 large eggs.
Now, recent research says the old 50 grams of protein a day recommendation was way too low, and that a 62 kilogram or 135 pound person needs at least 75 to 100 grams of high quality protein per day. So if you eat 75 grams of protein from animal foods, then you've met your protein requirements because most animal proteins have a DIAS score of 100 or higher. However, since lentils, for example, have a DIAS score of only 54, 75 grams of protein from lentils would only cover a little over half of your protein requirement. But nobody eats just lentils, and you can combine foods to make up for the essential amino acids other foods lack. So it's really good that people typically eat a variety of proteins in the same day, because if you're not getting enough of one amino acid, you can't properly utilize the other amino acids. Cornflakes cereal has a very poor DIAS score of 19, and it is very lacking in the amino acid lysine. However, milk has a very high DIAS score of 114, and has plenty of extra lysine, so if you eat your cornflakes cereal with milk, like most people do, then the DIAS of your breakfast is actually 89. Also, eating lentils with your millet will improve the protein quality of the millet. But unfortunately, as this 2021 paper shows, as the percentage of plant protein in the diet goes up, the overall protein quality of the diet goes down. In this study, even athletes who were following a vegetarian diet didn't end up getting the minimum recommended amount of protein. The vegetarian athletes were getting enough protein in terms of total protein, but they only utilized 89% of the protein they ate, so they missed the lower end of their protein target by 10 grams and the upper end of the target by 22 grams of utilizable protein. Now, 89% is actually not bad, but as vegetarians, they would be eating high-quality proteins like dairy or eggs, so if they were vegan, we would expect their overall protein to be a lot lower than 89% utilizable. The solution for these athletes is quite simple, really. They could just add another scoop of soy protein powder a day. But it was surprising to me that even these athletes, who I imagine would be very calculated with their protein, could be missing their recommended protein intake. With the right knowledge and diligence, yes, you can meet your protein requirements on a vegetarian or vegan diet. But you need to make sure to pick the right proteins.
What are you eating?
Peanut butter.
Let's go back to this example from the Game Changers.
1 cup of cooked lentils or a peanut butter sandwich has about as much protein as 3 ounces of beef or 3 large eggs.
So yeah, technically you get the same grams of crude protein from a peanut butter sandwich, a cup of lentils, a 3-ounce steak, or 3 eggs. But let's look a little closer. Here are the DIAS scores of these foods. Boiled eggs are 113, beef is 112, lentils are 54, roasted peanuts are 43, and wheat bread is 29. Wheat and peanuts are both limiting in lysine, so even if you combine them, their DIAS score couldn't be higher than 43. So let's say you start off with a peanut butter sandwich. Here's the amino acids you're getting. So we'll want to make up for the poor lysine content of the peanut butter sandwich. So you can add some lentils, which have plenty of lysine, and this will have increased the overall protein quality of the meal. But now you're still quite low in methionine. So then you add some edamame, boiled soybeans, because they're one of the best plant sources of methionine. But even then, you're not getting that much methionine relative to all the other amino acids. So that's the amino acids you're getting from 54 grams of protein from these plant foods. Now compare this to what you get from just eating 3 eggs and a 4.5-ounce skirt steak. Well, at first glance, you can see that with the plant-based meal, you have to eat 245 more calories to get less essential amino acids. And you get a better balance of the amino acids from the animal proteins. So the point is, if you're not eating meat, you'll need to get a variety of plant proteins every day. Dr. Lane Norton did his PhD dissertation on the critical role of the essential amino acid leucine in building muscle. He discussed in this video here how, despite the Game Changers being all about athletes and performance, it glossed over this very important topic. So with 54 grams of protein from steak and eggs, you're getting 5.3 grams of leucine, but only 3.7 grams from the plant-based meal, meaning you'd have to eat almost 1,200 calories of these plant foods to match the leucine content of the steak and eggs meal, which is only 570 calories.
You can get enough protein from vegan sources of protein, but if you're using whole food vegan sources of protein, you are going to have to eat a ton of them.
Something like 59% of children globally aren't given eggs, seafood, dairy, meat. And the WHO says the best foods for them are the meat, eggs, dairy, seafood. Now they say it in a footnote. In the text they say high quality, right? Or nutrient dense or something like that. But down in the footnote they specify.
I had a chat with forage agronomist and animal nutritionist Dr. Peter Ballerstedt, who has been a key voice on this protein quality topic. In fact, his detailed presentation on YouTube called When is Protein Not Protein is what got me interested in this topic. In that presentation, he gets into a lot of important nuances. For example, processing plant foods can lower the protein quality of that plant food. For example, we don't just eat wheat, we process that wheat into bread, and that processing actually worsens the protein quality.
And so we make whole wheat bread, we cut that value in half, because all this processing inactivates, makes unavailable the lysine, which is already the limiting nutrient.
Interestingly, human nutritionists don't fuss too much about protein quality or specific amino acids, but for an animal nutritionist like Dr. Ballerstedt, paying attention to protein quality is just common sense. After all, animal nutritionists have been balancing the rations given to pigs based not just on protein, but amino acids for almost 40 years now. In fact, the FAO has suggested that maybe we should be putting individual amino acids on food nutrient labels. This protein quality discussion is important not just because of the recent popularity of plant-based diets, but also, as Dr. Ballerstedt points out, more than 60% of our current global protein supply is already plant-based.
So humanity gets less of its protein supply from all animal source foods combined than it does from cereals.
Now, developed countries certainly eat much more animal source foods, so you might be thinking protein quality is an issue for developing countries. Well, as mentioned earlier, data from 2015 says 40% of Americans are not getting the minimum recommended amount of protein. And that is based on the old low recommendation of 0.8 grams of protein per kilogram body weight. But as we discussed, researchers are saying we need to get at least 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram. And that data from 2015 is only looking at total protein. So it's not accounting for the fact that some proteins are of lower quality than others. So we'd expect that more than 40% of Americans are not hitting their minimum protein requirements. Okay, but why would normal people not doing bodybuilding or competitive sports need that much protein? This is an important question, and it deserves a thorough answer. I'll be talking about this in another video, so make sure to subscribe. And you can catch me on Instagram, Twitter, or Patreon. The other day I was looking for a movie to watch, something protein related. But I kept running into the problem that some of the movies that looked good were not available for me to watch because I'm in Japan. Now, personally, I would rather not have my internet service provider be telling Netflix specifically where I'm located. That's where the sponsor of this video, NordVPN, comes in. Check out nordvpn.com/whatI'veLearned for a special holiday deal. With Nord, I can keep my internet activity private from my ISP, and I can even create the illusion that I'm actually in a different country so I can still watch this SNL video or any other content that is only available in America or Australia or any of the nearly 60 different countries where NordVPN has its 5,800 plus servers. I usually have the VPN going on my laptop so I can keep my data safe while I'm at a cafe or using public Wi-Fi. NordVPN is the fastest VPN out there, and they're offering a huge discount on a 2-year plan with 1 month free. You can grab this special holiday season deal at nordvpn.com/whatI'veLearned.